Horror games are fun until you play them at the wrong time. During the day, you can laugh things off and move on. But at night, when the room is quiet and the lights are off, even a normal door opening can give you chills. Here are 15 horror games that are scarier at night. The Medium is a good place to start, because its whole idea is built around seeing two versions of the same nightmare. You play as Marianne, a medium who gets pulled to an abandoned resort after a mysterious phone call. And the game keeps moving between the real world and the spirit world. That dual reality setup is the main hook. Sometimes you're exploring both sides at once, watching the same place look normal on one side and completely broken on the other. The game is not about running around with weapons or fighting everything head-on. It's slower, more focused on reading the environment, solving puzzles, and trying to understand what happened at the Niwa resort. But the stronger part is still the mood. Quiet hallways, ugly memories, and that constant split between what Marianne sees and what everyone else would see. The Medium may not be the scariest game out there, but it has a strong psychological hook.
What the hell is it?
It came from shame. From helplessness. From rage.
I know you're here. I know what you are.
It ate all of them, Marianne. All of my friends.
Someday You'll Return starts with a very simple idea. Daniel's daughter is missing, and he goes into the woods to find her. But the game slowly makes it clear that this forest is not just a random place. It is tied to Daniel's past, his guilt, and parts of his life he does not really want to face. That's what makes the horror feel more personal than a normal missing person story. Most of the gameplay is slow exploration. You're moving through the woods, checking signs, following clues, and trying to understand where to go next. There's some crafting and puzzle solving too, but the main focus is the feeling of being pulled deeper into a place that clearly means something to Daniel. The forest starts as a search area, but over time, it feels more like a memory he can't get away from.
What's going on?
The police just called. They canceled the search.
Don't!
They mess with people's heads.
Alice, listen to me.
No!
You know you're in no shape to play the hero.
Hey, don't talk to me like I'm crazy.
Greetings, my beloved listeners. Today's question is...
Blair Witch is exactly the kind of game that fits when we're talking about psychological horror. It takes a simple setup, a missing boy in the Black Hills forest, then slowly turns it into something much more personal. You play as Ellis, a former police officer with a troubled past, and he's not walking into those woods with a clean mind. That's why the horror lands better here. The best part is how Bullet changes the experience. He is not just there because dogs are easy to like. He helps you track clues, warns you when something is nearby, and gives you something normal to hold on to when the forest starts playing tricks on you. That makes the scary moments hit a little differently, because you're not only worried about Ellis, you're also paying attention to Bullet. But Ellis starts dealing with pieces of his own past, and the game keeps mixing that with the Blair Witch curse. MADiSON is a good pick if you want psychological horror that feels more direct and uncomfortable. You play as Luca, who wakes up in a room with blood on his hands and barely any clear answers. From there, the game puts you inside a house filled with old photos, disturbing family history, and a ritual that slowly starts to take over everything. The main tool is an instant camera, and that's what gives the game its identity. You take pictures to solve puzzles or trigger something in the room. Sometimes nothing happens right away, and that pause is what makes it stressful. You take the photo, wait for it to develop, and suddenly you're paying attention to every small sound around you. It just keeps you stuck in one place, gives you a camera, and makes you question what is happening around you. It's simple, creepy, and easy to understand, but still very effective as psychological horror. The Suicide of Rachel Foster is more of a quiet mystery than a regular horror game, and that's what makes it stand out. You play as Nicole, a woman who comes back to her family's old hotel after being away for years. Then a snowstorm traps her inside, and the only person she can really talk to is Irving, a guy on the phone who helps guide her through the place. From there, the hotel slowly starts feeling less like an empty building and more like a place full of old memories, family secrets, and things Nicole never fully understood when she was younger. The gameplay is pretty simple. You explore the hotel, follow objectives, talk through the phone, and slowly unlock more areas as Nicole starts digging into the past. And the tension doesn't come from monsters chasing you around. It comes from being trapped inside a huge empty hotel with a family story that keeps getting heavier the more you learn.
She was 9 weeks pregnant. Who is this? I need to keep looking.
You think he did this?
This is sick. This is... Get out of there.
Song of Horror is a great pick if you like old-school horror games, where even opening a door can feel like a bad idea. The story starts with the disappearance of Ryder and his family, then slowly pulls different characters into a mystery tied to a cursed music box and something called the Presence. The main thing that makes it stand out is the presence. It is not just a monster waiting in the hallway for you to walk by. It reacts to how you play, shows up in different ways, and keeps you on edge because you never fully know when the game is about to push back. On top of that, the game has permadeath, so losing a character actually matters. If one character dies, they are gone for good, and the story moves forward with another playable character instead of simply restarting like nothing happened. That makes every mistake feel heavier, because you're not just losing progress, you're losing a character permanently.
Shit, what did I get myself into? Hey, is everything okay?
Hello.
Daniel, we've got a bit of a major emergency going on here. Sebastian Husher is nowhere to be found.
Well, let's cross our fingers and hope he's home. We'll ring you up when I get back.
The Occultist takes place on Godstone, an abandoned British island that already feels wrong the moment Alan arrives. He comes there as a paranormal investigator, trying to find out what happened to his missing father. But the island is not just some empty place with a few creepy rooms. It has old cult history, quiet streets, strange buildings, and a lot of things that clearly should have stayed buried. The main tool is Alan's mystical pendulum. He uses it to interact with the environment, uncover hidden things, and deal with supernatural forces around the island. That gives the game a slower, more investigative pace. You move through quiet places, look for clues, and try to understand what Godstone is hiding piece by piece.
Running from what haunts you gives it power.
Dead Take feels different from a lot of psychological horror, because it goes after Hollywood, fame, and the ugly side of ambition. Chase Lowry enters a producer's mansion while looking for his missing friend Vinny, but the horror is not built around monsters chasing you through hallways. It comes more from the people connected to this place, the performances they put on, and the things you start uncovering inside the house. The gameplay is mostly about exploring the mansion and solving small puzzles along the way. You find clues, collect old footage, and use a video splicing tool to slowly piece the story together. That works really well for the theme because you are not just picking up notes and moving on. You are watching people lie, break down, perform, and hide behind the image they want everyone else to believe.
He is sculpting them into something bigger than themselves.
There's a party, Vinny, which I'd love for you to attend.
The magnum opus of the great genius Duke Kane.
Vinny, get out of there, please. Just pick up. Goddamn.
Magic of cinema is that it lets us peel back the skin, see the marrow of a man.
Don't believe what he says, Vinny.
But those in great pain can attempt to evoke the lady through a dark ritual and magic of the tarot. As the lady knows their suffering all too well, she could show them pity. Or she may not.
Martha is Dead is one of those psychological horror games where the story is already heavy before anything supernatural even happens. The game is set in 1944 Italy during World War II and follows Julia after her twin sister Martha is found dead near a lake. From there, the story starts pulling together grief, family secrets, war, folklore, and the uncomfortable feeling that Julia may not fully understand what is happening around her. The gameplay is slow and story-focused, but it has a few ideas that make it feel different. You explore the area, take photos, develop pictures, listen to the radio, and follow small pieces of the mystery as they come together. The photography system is one of the biggest parts of the game because it makes you pay attention to details. Some scenes get very disturbing, so this one is definitely not for everyone.
How are you holding up? Well, what the hell is going on there?
Solis, it's...
Jack? What happened?
We need to go.
Fort Solis feels more like a slow sci-fi thriller than a regular horror game, and that actually works in its favor. Jack Leary is an engineer who responds to an emergency alert at a mining station on Mars. At first, it sounds like a routine job. He arrives, checks the station, and tries to figure out why nobody is answering. But once he starts moving through Fort Solis, the place feels less like an empty facility and more like something went wrong here, and someone wanted it kept quiet. The gameplay is built around that slow tension. There is no big combat system, and the game is not trying to throw enemies at you every few minutes. You explore the station, watch old logs, solve light puzzles, and follow the story step by step. Mars already feels lonely, and Fort Solis uses that isolation really well. Layers of Fear works so well for psychological horror because the whole game feels like being trapped inside someone's broken mind. The story follows a painter trying to finish his final work, but his house never stays normal for long. A hallway shifts when you turn around. A door opens into a place that should not be there. Even the paintings start to feel wrong the longer you look at them. The gameplay is simple, but that simplicity helps the atmosphere. You walk, explore, inspect objects, and pay attention to small changes around you. There is no combat, so the tension does not come from fighting enemies. It comes from wondering what the house is going to do next. One room can change completely behind your back, and that keeps you uneasy even when nothing is chasing you. The 2023 version also brings the different chapters together in one package, which makes it feel like the best way to experience the series now.
Now I see it.
I will never be like one of his paintings. But I can make the paintings be like me. Scarred, broken, hidden from the world, imprisoned in this house.
I know what must...
Unsound Mind has a more unusual setup than most psychological horror games. Desmond Wales is a therapist who wakes up inside a strange building, then starts going through recordings tied to his former patients. Each tape takes him into a different case, and that is where the game gets interesting. Instead of staying in one haunted location, it keeps changing based on the person you are learning about. That structure keeps the game from feeling repetitive. One section leans more into paranoia, while another might focus on grief, anxiety, or someone dealing with something they cannot escape. The gameplay has puzzles, weapons, and boss fights, so it is not just walking around and reading notes. But the main hook is still the idea of entering broken memories and seeing how each person's mind has changed the space around them. It is weird, creative, and much easier to follow than it might sound at first.
Dark. What is happening to me? What am I becoming? What a beautiful beautiful and fragile thing the mind is. How devastatingly strange it can be.
Outlast is still one of the easiest horror games to recommend because the setup gets straight to the point. Miles Upshur is a journalist who breaks into Mount Massive Asylum after getting a tip about the strange things happening inside. At first, it feels like a risky investigation, but once the doors close behind him, it turns into something much worse. The camera is what gives Outlast its identity. You use night vision to see in the dark, but the battery drains, so even looking around has pressure behind it. There is no combat either, which means every encounter is about running, hiding, shutting doors, and trying not to panic when someone gets too close. For psychological horror, Mount Massive works because it feels like science, fear, and broken minds all crashed into one place. The game is simple, but the tension still hits hard because it never lets you feel safe for long. Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2 fits this theme because the horror comes from staying close to Senua's mind. The journey takes her into Iceland, where she faces slavers, violence, old trauma, and the voices that are always with her. It is not horror in the usual haunted house way. It feels more personal, because the game keeps pulling you into what Senua hears, sees, and struggles to understand. The game is very focused in how it plays. You move through the world, fight in close combat, solve visual puzzles, and go through scenes that can feel almost too real at times. The binaural audio is a huge part of the experience, especially with headphones, because the voices do not just sit quietly in the background. They question her, warn her, push her, and sometimes make the whole situation feel harder to trust. Ninja Theory also worked with mental health consultants and people with lived experience of psychosis, which is why the psychological side feels specific instead of random. Those Who Remain has one easy rule to understand: stay in the light. Edward ends up in the town of Dormont, a place covered in darkness and tied to some ugly secrets. Once you step into the dark, you can see figures standing there, watching from the shadows. They do not need to chase you right away. The gameplay is built around that idea. You move carefully, turn lights on, solve puzzles, and look for a safe way forward without getting trapped in the dark. Dormont also has another reality connected to it, which makes the town feel broken in more than one way. But the reason it works for psychological horror is the moral side of the story. Edward is not just trying to survive, he is also forced to face choices tied to the town's past. It can be rough in some places, but the core idea is strong. The darkness is not just a threat. It is connected to guilt, bad decisions, and the things people tried to hide. Last Days of Lazarus has a strange, uneasy feeling right from the start. Lazarus returns home after his mother's death, hoping to reconnect with his sister Lyudmila. But the house, the people around him, and even reality itself do not feel normal for long. Rooms start to feel wrong, conversations feel off, and the more he tries to understand what happened to his family, the more the world around him seems to fall apart. The gameplay is mostly slow exploration, puzzle solving, and piecing together the family's past. It uses grief, religion, sickness, and Romanian-inspired imagery to build a mood that feels uncomfortable in a very personal way. This is not a fast horror game, and it is not trying to be action-heavy. It is more about watching Lazarus get pulled deeper into a family nightmare that keeps getting harder to explain. That is what makes it work here. It feels sad, weird, messy, and personal in a way that stays with you.
There are things that don't add up here.
How many times do I have to tell you that we are at war? We are the good guys.
I'll show them. I'll show them that I can be even more ruthless than them.
Observer, System Redux brings psychological horror into a cyberpunk world that already feels broken before anything strange happens. Daniel Lazarus is a neural detective in the year 2084, living in a city filled with decay, surveillance, broken tech, and people barely holding on. What makes the game really interesting is Daniel's ability to enter people's minds for clues. That is where Observer starts messing with you. You are not just checking rooms or reading files. You are stepping into memories, fears, and damaged thoughts that do not behave like normal places. Rooms shift, images repeat, and some scenes feel like a corrupted dream you cannot fully control. It is slow, grim, and uncomfortable in a way that fits psychological horror really well. The System Redux version also adds new content and visual upgrades, so it feels like the best way to play it now.
If you don't remember, you won't remember. That's when they call me.
They've come for him.
Heart rate irregular. Emergency extraction procedure offline. Offline.
My name is Daniel Lazarus. I'm an observer.
Luto starts with a simple idea that works really well for psychological horror. You are trapped inside your own home. Every time you try to leave, the house pulls you deeper in, and the place slowly stops feeling like something you understand. It is not just a haunted house story either. The game is built around loss, grief, anxiety, and that feeling of being stuck with thoughts you cannot easily get away from. The gameplay stays slow and focused. You move through the house, notice small changes, and try to understand what the place is doing to you. A hallway might feel normal the first time, then feel completely different later. A room can seem safe for a moment, then suddenly feel wrong without needing a big scare. That is why Luto works for this kind of list. It keeps everything close and personal, while making the house feel less like a normal place and more like something closing in around you. Visage is an easy pick for this kind of list because the whole game is built around a house that refuses to stay normal. You explore a quiet suburban home, but each chapter pulls you into a different story tied to the people who lived there before. At first it seems simple. You walk around, check rooms, find items, and solve puzzles. But the longer you stay inside, the less the house feels like a real place. What makes Visage scary is how little control you feel like you have. Sanity matters, the layout changes, and sometimes, the hardest part is just figuring out what the house wants from you next. One moment you have a clear objective, and the next, you're staring at a room that feels different from the last time you walked through it. Visage can be confusing, and it definitely asks for patience. But that is also why it works so well as psychological horror. It takes a normal home and slowly turns it into a place where nothing feels safe anymore. Silent Hill 4, The Room, has one of the strongest setups in the series because it starts with something anyone can understand: being trapped inside your own apartment. Henry Townsend wakes up in room 302, but the door is chained shut, the windows will not open, and nobody outside really understands what is happening to him. Then a strange hole appears in the bathroom wall, and that becomes his only way out. But the longer the game goes on, the less safe room 302 feels. Strange things start happening inside the apartment, and the place Henry keeps returning to slowly becomes another part of the nightmare. That is what makes Silent Hill 4 so good for psychological horror. It takes comfort and turns it into pressure. It is not the smoothest Silent Hill game, and some mechanics can be frustrating, but the core idea is still excellent. Being trapped in your own room is easy to understand, and that is why it sticks.